do sit in my chair of joy, and I think I will sit there more often now and just reflect on what the chair has brought me in my life. And actually now I'm just realizing what it could continue to bring me. More joy. And I do sometimes think I've made a lot of decisions in my life because they were easier. But when I look back, I actually think they were more joyful. So I sometimes would switch jobs, like from one nonprofit to the other, because it was a smaller organization with a bigger impact. And at one point I remember my husband saying, do you know, you're going to take a pay cut. Like, that's not usually how everybody follows their career growth. And I remember thinking yeah, but this one is more wonderful for all of these reasons. So I think I naturally just followed what was going to be more joyful. And I don't know. And that's how I ended up where I am now, which feels like the most joyful place for all the reasons I told you. My name is Carrie Provenzale, and we are in Chicago, Illinois, and Deborah Sunderland asked me to come and have a seat. I have been in the nonprofit sector for 25 some years. Started off at a small organization in the city of Chicago and went on to do some different consulting and take on some different projects at different organizations around the Chicagoland area that had regional, statewide, or national scope in their work. And now, most recently, I serve as executive director at Turning Pointe Autism Foundation in Naperville. 1 in about 60 are diagnosed now with autism, and it more predominantly impacts boys than girls, although now emerging research shows girls might just slip through the cracks on getting diagnosed as early as boys. So the debate is still out on that. And I have 60 kids at my school, always a waiting list. And through this most recent pandemic, it has just grown.
Why?
Primarily because I think our school districts, when students can't be served in their school districts, is when they get referred to a school like mine. And I think with school districts struggling to keep up with online learning and in-person learning and all of the new mandates, it's becoming harder and harder to meet the needs of our friends with autism. So they are more inclined to be referring them out. And so our waiting list has probably tripled in the last couple of months. I have this theory about my Turning Pointe kids. They are just so uninhibited, right? So they come in every day exactly who they are in the world, which is very inspiring to me, because we talk about how they need to learn some independence, certainly, and they need to learn socially appropriate behaviors, certainly, to keep them safe as they age and go out into the world. But they are so inspiring because they are so themselves. They are just, I think, the purest expression of the Holy Spirit, really, because they just come in as they are. And then they are asked to meet so many of our demands to live in our world or our culture or our society. And for me, that's just the balance and the magic of what we do at Turning Pointe, right? Because we want them to be independent and successful, but it's always, we are up against the reality that they are exactly who they are. And they say what they want and they express themselves how they want. And I think there's just a lot of joy around being around them. And then because they can't communicate the way we all typically communicate, it's just a fun joy to try and, we say, outsmart them, because they're so smart and they are going to find a way to get what they want, whether it's a behavior or an attitude, and because they're going to try and get what they need and want. And so we always have to stay one step ahead of them. So I don't know, I think that's why there's a lot of joy there. It's got to be, because they're just very joyful. If I could have a magic wand and bring more joy to my school, I would bring in more teachers and more paraprofessionals and more individuals to work with our friends with autism, because I think there are all these misconceptions around what we do. And I think people are hesitant to get involved. And I think if I could bring more people in, that would be, I think, wonderful. I want more people to experience joy at Turning Point. Just was thinking of the birth of my babies. My babies, so I say, do you love me or the kids at your school more? They look, because I call my kids at Turning Point my kids. But just the birth of my babies were both very joyful days, very great mornings in my life. So last weekend, my family went up to the Chicago Botanic Gardens and we saw the light display there. And they had a lot of lights set to music. And that was just, you know, the crisp air, and it was just the trees. And then both my kids were dancing in the trees and in the cold, and it was beautiful. Oh, love. It would be fluffy, like a cloud, maybe, but in a jar, so you could see it. Maybe sparkly. I don't know what I would say. I feel like I would open it and start giving it out. That's what I'm picturing right now.
Are they receptive?
Some of them might be. Maybe. Yeah, well, joy and love are important because it's all we have. And I think people spend a lot of their time either ignoring that they have it or pretending it's not a priority, or they'll get it later, or it's around the corner, or if only they didn't have this or did have that. And it's always everywhere, right? It's in every moment. I'm so lucky. I mean, I work somewhere where it's committed people. I mean, we're there usually for the right reason, right? So it's like we have something, a common thread, and it's not money or fame or glory. Right? So that makes a big difference. I think I would give it to Deb. Yeah, because she has certainly given it to me, and certainly, or shown me how to find it myself, right? And so I think I would want to give it to her, not because she needs it, but just to share it with her, like a good snack or a glass of wine. I don't know how to convince a CEO or you know, like I think about those things. It's like, I don't know what to say other than like, wake up and be present, take a deep breath, and it's all right here for us. It's funny you say that. I kind of do have a chair of joy. Well, the chair that I sat in when my babies were born, and I've had it recovered, and like I mean, I don't use it this way. I will start, but that's like a very special chair at my house. I do sit in my chair of joy, and I think I will sit there more often now and just reflect on what the chair has brought me in my life. And actually now I'm just realizing what it could continue to bring me. More joy. It's like it's right here. Get to meet new people, get to have a different experience. But that's every moment could be that way if you're open to it. And if you say yes when someone says, hey, tomorrow, can you go sit on a chair of joy? And you say, yeah, sure. Every moment is what we're going to make of it, right? So yes, there's all these terrible things in the world, but there are equally or more so all these joys of the world. So why do we spend our time not here? People have a incorrect sense of urgency about things that drives them throughout their day, or their career choices or life choices. It's like an urgency or a fear instead of focusing on what they do have, what's available to them right now, and where we all can access peace at any moment. It's like the view of the mountaintop. Once you see it from up there, it's like, oh, you don't have to always be standing on the mountaintop, but now you saw the view at the mountaintop, so you get it. right now with COVID, and it's scary, and the news and all the horrible things that are happening. And I just think joy is the answer because it's available to all of us at any moment. I mean, and that's the trick, and that's the beauty of it, is we can still get to it. I think about right now too, all the people that are hungry right now or having to be in line for different food pantries right now. But I also think about all the people that are standing in line to give the food right now. It's like a beautiful symbiotic relationship is happening right now all around the world, right? People are helping, people are in need, and we are moving through it together. We are. And I do sometimes think I've made a lot of decisions in my life because they were easier. But when I look back, I actually think they were more joyful. So I sometimes would switch jobs, like from one nonprofit to the other, because it was a smaller organization with a bigger impact. And at one point I remember my husband saying, do you know, like, I mean, you're going to take a pay cut. Like, that's not usually how everybody like follows their career growth. And I remember thinking like, yeah, but I mean, this one is more wonderful for all of these reasons. So I think I naturally just followed what was going to be more joyful. And I don't know. And that's how I ended up where I am now, which feels like the most joyful place for all the reasons I told you. Joy is the answer. I was nervous to come today. I'm not going to lie. It was like all very last minute, and I got recommended to come, and of course I didn't want to let that person down. And then I got here and I realized it was all about joy, and it was a totally incredible experience. And in 15 minutes, you realize how much beauty and good there is in the world. I would love to share this with other people because it was very easy.